And I think the focus for the offense will be, don't screw the game up, and let's ask our defense to shut down the Ravens offense in this game and just take our chances. So I don't anticipate Kenny Pickett to have a big game statistically, because I don't think the Steelers want to put the ball in his hands that much against that Ravens defense.
To your point, it tends to work that way in this rivalry. The team that turns it over more tends to lose more often. It's kind of how the numbers shake out, especially when games that are that tight, that are one-possession games. You can make the case that even if you take one of Mitch Trubisky's interceptions off the board from that last game, maybe they have a shot at winning it. And the one I take back, that one in the second quarter right before the half. They eliminated the chance to score before the half. They got the ball back after the half and did nothing with either of those possessions. I think if you turn that one even into just 3 before halftime, you're looking at an entirely different ball game. 412-575-2600 is the number on the Borders and Borders hotline. Plus, I'm taking your questions on Twitter. We have a question from Steelers Pens Pirates fan who says, if all of the top cornerbacks and top offensive tackles are off the board by the time the Steelers picked, could they draft Jordan Addison and pair him back up with Kenny Pickett, or should they trade back in the first round and gain more draft picks? Pony, what's your thought on that one?
I know the temptation's there because of what we've seen with these quarterbacks who played with wide receivers in college with Burrow and Chase. We just saw Derek Carr, Devontae Adams Saturday night. But I have serious questions about Addison with his size at the NFL level. He's not like a Tyreek Hill where he's on the smaller end of things, and he's just an absolute speed demon, speed merchant player. He's more of a refined route runner. He's really good at that. But, I'm not sure. To me, I look at him as like an Emmanuel Sanders type in the NFL, really good receiver. But I don't look at him as a number one receiver type. So I would, given the Steelers' history of drafting receivers, I would not want to use a first-round pick, a middle of the first-round pick, on a guy just because he has chemistry with Kenny Pickett.
I'll say this also. As it stands right now, the Steelers are expected to, or at least projected, to pick, number 15 or 16, Pony?
16.
So
16,
honestly, when you're looking at the 16th pick, you may not know what you'll find at that point in the middle of the first round. Usually you look at those top guys are gone within the first 10 to 12 picks. And I'm talking corners, I'm talking tackles, I'm talking quarterbacks, and maybe even a couple skill guys. Depending on who's picking at that point, you may even see Jordan Addison gone. And that's not even counting, let's say the Steelers win the next 2 games. They may pick down closer to 20 than they would closer to 12. So now you're talking about an entirely different situation. And I don't even know if Jordan Addison may be the move there if you're even further down on the board. Let's go to Josiah in San Antonio. Good evening, Josiah.
How you doing, Andrew?
Hey, Josiah.
Hey, Josh. Quick question. I've watched Baltimore very closely. This team has a tough time scoring. Going into last week's game, they said Baltimore hadn't scored a touchdown since week 3. And then on top of that, if the Steelers don't stop the run, which we know this is coming, if they don't stop the run, shame on them. And then this is the last point. Once Baltimore gets into the red zone, they can't punch it in. All they do is put Tucker on the field. This game is lining up easy for the Steelers if they capitalize off the turnovers.
I don't know where Josiah's getting his information, but I don't know if that's entirely true. Because
the Ravens scored touchdowns against the Steelers. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins scored.
J.K. Dobbins scored. And it was right after that 44-yard run he broke after the 17-yard punt by Presley Harvin III, which is another play from that game that you probably want back. Because if you have a decent field-flipping punt, maybe that doesn't happen.
I give the Steelers credit defensively for what they've done against the run the last 2 games. Carolina has run the ball. They shut them down 21 yards. And then obviously Josh Jacobs had been just a huge threat in the run game. And outside of the first drive, he did almost nothing in that game. But, I hear Tomlin today talk about Robert Spillane and how Spillane played 100% of the snaps and never came off the field. I still think they've got major issues at inside linebacker. And to the previous tweet that you got from the Steelers fan there, I wonder if they're going to be tempted to draft another inside linebacker early in next year's draft to try to make up for it. They're still chasing what happened with Shazier to try to find somebody to shore up the middle. There's another year on Myles Jack's contract. My guess is they would bring him back.
That's what I'm expecting too.
I would think somewhere in those first 3 picks, maybe the 2 seconds, and obviously that first round pick, I think they will draft an inside linebacker. They need one. Spillane's done a serviceable job, but he's not that good. And Devin Bush, I mean, Josh, what do they do with him? Are they really going to go the Terrell Edmonds route with him and try to give him? I think you just got to cut your losses and move on.
Yeah, I don't see any upside in bringing him back, especially when you know you're just kicking the can down the road and it's a situation that you haven't been able to fix. And Ryan Shazier's been gone for all of five seasons now? This is something that it's been a problem for half a decade. You got to fix this problem, and you got to fix it now. You can't keep kicking it down the road. I just don't think it's a feasible move for them to try to either bring Devin Bush back or, God forbid, you reach too high again and you make the same mistake a second time. That's another thing you can't afford to do. This is one of those situations where you are really on thin ice as far as the decision that you make and what can happen because of it. We're going to take another break. We'll close out when we come back. Stick around.